All right, so Bert Kreischer finally got a much-needed reality check recently when Dr. Drew called into Two Bears, One Cave and just roasted him, and he couldn't believe what he was hearing. He was in shock. And of course, he's like, that wasn't very professional of him. But this is what Bert needs. He needs people to be honest with him once in a while. And it seems like Tom doesn't really like to do that because he lets Bert get away with saying some delusional shit. Like earlier in this episode, Bert was trying to say that this past year, he hasn't put on any body fat. He's only put on pure muscle. And he says this right after he gets done talking about how he'll see people out in public and be like, I'm not as fat as that guy. But then he slowly starts to realize he probably is. So then he tries to justify it by acting like he's not sure if he wants to lose weight because he's only been putting on muscle recently. And the reason they even started talking about all this is because they showed Bert a picture of him in this face filter app without a beard. And he was horrified by it.
That is not who I want to be. That is not who I want to be. And that's who I am.
But here's the thing.
What?
The thing that's good about seeing that is even though that's actually not who you are, you know who that guy, like you've seen that guy and you're like, oh, be that guy.
Oh,
that's why
dude,
it's good.
I look at people all the time. I go, I'm not as fat as that guy. And I'm always fatter. There was this guy that was a fat piece of shit in line at the airport. Yeah. And I was like, look at this fat fuck. And then he took his shoes off and then put them back on standing up. And I went, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Here's my biggest problem is right now I'm stronger than I've ever been in my entire life.
Yeah, you keep doing these.
I'm stronger than I am in my entire life. And my arms are bigger, my shoulders are bigger. People will touch my shoulders and be like, oh my God, do you work out? Like my back, everything's stronger. I'm probably the heaviest I've ever been. I know I'm not the heaviest I've been. I know I've been heavier, but like I look at pictures of me when we were doing Sober October, and I had no shoulders, I had no arms, and I looked like a coat hanger.
Yeah, yeah.
And I really am curious how much more muscle's on me than before.
Yeah.
And the other day, I benched 285.
That's pretty impressive.
And so I think I can do 225. I think I can do it probably 6 times right now, 7 times. So I'm so much more stronger than I was then, but I was skinnier then, but I don't think I was skinnier. I think it was the exact same amount as fat. I think I've just added like, what do you think, maybe 10 pounds of muscle?
Since then?
I don't know. Like, what is it? Like, if you go from not being able to bench 200 pounds to then being able to bench 285, how much muscle do you think that is?
I don't know. It's a good question. I mean,
that is not a good question. Bert Kreischer does not need to wonder how much muscle he's put on this past year. That should not be a thought in his head. And it's hilarious that Tom's just sitting there agreeing with him like this all makes sense. Like he really thinks that Bert only gained muscle this past year. And people are asking him if he goes to the gym because his shoulders are so strong, I guess. And it's funny that he says that because during the last Sober October, which I think he was referring to there, he said his shoulders were non-existent. He had no shoulders. But I remember during that podcast, he was literally bragging about his shoulders. So he has some weird shoulder obsession or something. And it seems like that's how he determines if he's in good shape or not. And he's so used to being around Tom and people that just agree with whatever he's saying that he's not used to people questioning him on it. But thankfully, during that Sober October podcast, Joe actually called him out on it.
Like, and this is like when you go like, I have legit the best shoulders.
I do. Hold on, I do. I have legit great shoulders. Like great shoulders.
Yeah. No, you don't.
Joe, they're ripping through this shirt right now.
Yeah, but you say things and you don't really mean it, right? Like when you say things you know they're not true.
He does mean it.
He's kind of Joe, and I kind of mean it, which means he means it.
But you
say things you know aren't true. Like you remember that one time you said he could do the splits? You really?
He thought he could.
I actually thought I might be able to pull one out. But more importantly...
And I think Tom lets him get away with saying all this crazy stuff because he just finds it funny for the most part. Like also during this podcast, Bert basically did the same thing he just did with his weight, but with drinking. Like throughout the podcast, he kept talking about how badly he wants to drink. And then he randomly brings up that he's been sneaking drinks recently. Like, I guess he's tried to take days off, but then towards the end of the day, he decides to have a drink, but it doesn't count because he doesn't feel the effects from it. That's what he says. So I'll give it to him. He's getting creative here. You know, he's really thinking of whatever he can to make it seem like he's got it under control. And if he actually was down to one drink, I would say, you know, he's on a good path, but it sounds like he's doing one drink the days when he doesn't drink. He's just sneaking one drink. And still, it's going to snowball out of control half the time. Like right here, he's like, when I go to the airport, I'm going to have one drink. That's all I need. That's the perfect amount. But then if somebody offers me a drink on the plane, I got to take it. And then when I get home, I'm probably going to want to drink.
On a cocktail.
Dude, can I tell you what I did the other day?
What's the cocktail you're going to have?
I think whiskey.
Whiskey?
Yeah, I did it. I've been doing it. I've been sneaking them. Like on days I say I don't drink, I'll sneak a double Jack on the Rocks.
Yeah.
And then just have one to just just set the cart right. You know, like just little like, because I looked at those people who can go like, you can do it, like where you go, I'll just have a whiskey and then I'm good, I'm gonna go to bed, and you didn't technically drink, you don't feel it.
Yeah.
And if you do it at the right, if you do it at the right hour, it's nice, a little treat.
Yeah, a little treat,
especially if you do it at the right hour. You go, cool, I'm gonna do that tonight at the airport. I'm gonna get a nice double whiskey. And I'm going to go, I don't need another one. I'm going to get on the plane. And then they offer me another one, I'll have another one. And then if I get home and I want one, I'm going to have one. And then I'm going to trim my beard.
Yeah, so then during the podcast, Bert randomly comes up with this genius solution to all these problems. You know, what could fix his eating? What could fix his drinking? The solution to that is chloroform.
I'm like, all I want is food and alcohol. And I just said to you, I want to lose weight. How is this possible? I need chloroform. I need chloroform.
Can we order that, by the way?
Yeah, you can get it on Google. You can get it on Amazon.
Wait, bring drinks or chloroform?
You can order chloroform on Amazon.
Can you Google ordering chloroform real quick?
Google chloroform. You can get chloroform on Amazon.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess Bert's idea is to knock himself out so he doesn't have to think about eating or drinking. So they decide to call Dr. Drew with this idea, and his response is hilarious. And he obviously says it's insane. But he also is aware of how delusional Bert is. Like, Tom's trying to tell him that Bert put on muscle, but Dr. Drew is not having it, so he just tells it like it is.
Some chloroform, and is it dangerous to do it to ourselves?
Probably not more dangerous than what Bert already does to himself, but I'll have to look it up. I don't think it's quite what you imagine it is, but let me look into it. I mean,
okay.
Obviously, we don't use it anymore, but I will give you more detail.
Well, Bert has this idea where he goes,
anything that follows Bert has this idea. I'm having chills.
Is that he's stronger than he's ever been, which is true. He's lifting more weights, but he's also gaining weight, and he wants to reduce his weight some, but not.
It's by the way, it's noticeable now, right? That he's gaining weight.
Yeah.
Everyone can see it now, right?
Right.
Are you a doctor?
So.
You know, it's interesting when he decides to take his lab coat on and off in these conversations. You know, I actually can't answer that as a doctor. Bert's fat as fuck.
That was amazing.
I might go to rehab.
Yeah.
And just but not like it's like a rehab light. Like it's like
rehab light?
Like just like a resort.
What kind of resort?
Somewhere I don't know. What does that mean?
Yeah, so that was probably one of the funniest moments ever on this show. Bert getting hit with the hard truth. You know, finally somebody's being honest with him and not just telling him what he wants to hear. And he's acting like this is unprofessional from Dr. Drew, but this kind of thing needs to happen. Like this person says on Reddit, a good doctor should tell you when you become fat as shit, the blunter the better. And another person said, he needs a verbal beatdown by Dr. Now from my 600-pound life. And also I like this comment. This person said, honestly, I strive for that level of delusion. I feel like I'd be much happier. Yeah, so I think this episode overall was probably good for him. You know, it's good for him to be hit with reality once in a while. Like after that phone call, I think he took a step in the right direction. He said he'd go to rehab light, which I guess is him just taking a vacation and going to a resort where he'll probably drink a lot. So maybe that's not the best idea, but at least rehab is on his mind. At least it's something he thought of after that phone call. But let me know what you guys think about it all down in the comments. And then make sure you go check out my Patreon account. I just posted a video about the Nelk and Andrew Schultz podcast. And there are over 30 other videos on there, like the downfall of Milo Yiannopoulos, the downfall of Adam 22, the degeneracy of Ari Shaffir, and I talk about some really cringy Joe Rogan episodes, and I post weekly on there. So I'll put a link in the description. Make sure you check it out, and then hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you at the next video.